everybody, and welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I am Tim.
And I am Willie.
Let's get this out of the way. This one's kind of a bummer. Like, this happened just before
I would agree.
hit record. I know we're wrestling fans. You are in the pro wrestling game, the business.
Yeah. Yes.
But Bray Wyatt passed away.
Yeah.
And I know we have some fans of Bray Wyatt that listen to the podcast.
For sure.
So I want to say a couple words about him because his characters always had a very interesting crossover with horror. And I think I would make the argument that as far as fandom goes, I think he's the most successful wrestler when it comes to like crossing over to horror fans. I would say even more so than The Undertaker.
Yes.
I think Undertaker may have been more successful overall, but I think in terms of like building a fan base amongst like horror fans, I don't think I've ever seen a fan base, like a group of people as passionate as Bray Wyatt fans were, especially like later on.
Sure. And there's, so the thing with Undertaker too to remember is that like, obviously he's the biggest, one of the biggest wrestlers of all time in terms of like recognizability and popularity and stuff. But, he also did a lot of non-horror based stuff over the course of his career, and he changed his character up a few times, and he, on top of that, right, other than like his early days, like right outside of his debut with Paul Bearer and stuff, and his Ministry of Darkness phase, The Undertaker wasn't like a super horror-heavy character. Really.
Right.
He had some spooky imagery, but it wasn't really like fully entrenched in like what modern audiences would consider horror. What Bray Wyatt was doing was very much, it felt very
genuine.
Yes, and it was pulling from a lot of different really interesting things. Like the early Bray Wyatt character felt very Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or inspired even by like real life cult leaders and stuff like that. Some really cool stuff going on there. And as it evolved, it became, he came back and did the Firefly Funhouse stuff, where he was kind of doing this weird surrealist, kind of creepy Five Nights at Freddy's stuff going on there. I feel like there's some Terrifier inspiration going on there with some of the goofy but also scary stuff.
It reminds me of reminds me a little bit of, is it Mandy? Yeah, Mandy.
Yes.
Yes.
Cheddar Goblin stuff.
Cheddar Goblin. Yeah. I'm curious if he was inspired by that.
For sure. And then he did the Fiend thing, which to me felt like a slasher villain. Like the Fiend felt like a slasher.
The Fiend was the Savini mask too, right?
Yes.
That's the Tom Savini inspired, designed.
Yeah, and Savini's design. He also did some masks for the Wyatt family. I think Eric Rowan had a goat mask when he was wrestling with the Wyatt family.
Savini's wrestling work is really cool.
He did some stuff for Rey Mysterio as well. At some point. Okay. I don't remember what the mask was, but I think he did a Rey Mysterio mask at one point.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
I'm sure. I don't recall it right now, but yeah.
But no. So yes, obviously he's certainly more recognized for in the wrestling world, the pro wrestling world. But I think that it's definitely worth mentioning. His passing. Because I think he did have a nice. You're right. He had a really cool. He bridged a kind of a cool gap between pro wrestling and horror, and he blended the two together. I think it's really admirable and very cool. And I don't know a lot about him. Him as a guy, as a person. I don't know Wyndham Rotunda. But I assume he was a fan of horror to be doing things that he was doing, with his characters. So it's sad.
He had 4 kids too, and
he's 36 years old.
He's 36 years old.
He's younger than both of us.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I just Sean Ross Sapp. It's reported it was a heart attack.
Yep.
It's a bummer. His early his FCW and his early WWE run, where he was kind of like that Southern cult leader with I love that stuff.
Yeah.
That's my favorite stuff that he ever did. And I think it's legitimately great stuff. And it was just so different in his cadence and the way he delivered everything. He was so from from the get, like from the first time you saw him, like there was just something different about him. There, just the way he delivered his stuff, like he was so sure of himself, and he had that character down pat pretty early.
Yeah, he did. He really did.
And I know he came from a wrestling family. His dad was a wrestler, obviously. Sure. I remember my favorite moment of his. I was in the crowd at WrestleMania 30, and his entrance. He had the live band playing his Wyatt family entrance, and it is the. I've gone to 5 or 6 WrestleManias and a bunch of other shows. It is that entrance was the coolest ever entrance. Everybody had their lighters out.
Yeah.
We went around New Orleans all night and just going, New Orleans, we're here, and we blow out the candle. But it was like the coolest wrestling entrance
Very cool.
I have ever seen, and may ever see. So like that has always stuck with me.
That's super cool. Yeah, no, he seemed like a really good guy. Certainly people in the industry and stuff have nothing but amazing things to say about him. And, it's very sad and shocking. It is. So you have to, we'll take a sip of our mutual drinks there for Bray Wyatt. Wyndham Rotunda was his real name. So, our thoughts go out to him and his family, and, he left a really cool mark. If you want to check out his stuff, I mean, there's plenty of really cool. Like you said, the WrestleMania 30 entrance is a nice way to start if you want to get an idea of what he was doing. I know you can watch all that stuff on Peacock, but I'm sure you can YouTube the WrestleMania 30 entrance and see
what I'm talking about.
Like. Yeah. Him coming out with his own severed head was pretty sweet too.
with the light.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Fiend entrance, the original Fiend entrance is really good.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I personally would point people, if you haven't seen his stuff, I would point people to his early stuff. I think that's his best.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think
his early NXT, like FCW/NXT stuff, start there and watch kind of what he does. Yeah, it's very cool.
If you are inclined to be a wrestling, or if you're a wrestling fan, or if you are someone who is an interest in it, that's the stuff I would point
It's worth a watch.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right. So let's move on. Rest in peace. But let's move on to. We're gonna talk about Haunt this week. Oh,
yes.
We should real quick before we talk about Haunt. Let's. I didn't want to let's talk about the Game Nerds real quick. Check out the Midwest Game Nerds. Midwest Game Nerds.
Check them out.
Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Midwest Podcast. What were the? I'm sure the Game Nerds are going to be talking about Gamescom coming up. Mm-hmm. Did you watch the Killer Clowns trailer?
I did. It looks great.
Okay, I didn't watch it. Oh, you know what? No, I did. It
looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm pumped about that. Whether I play it or not, totally different story. I mostly just get excited about games now.
I've been. I texted you yesterday. I've been watching the TCM, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre live streams. It's giving it's scratching the itch because I'm not able to play games much right now. But I'm watching. I'm like, there's part of me like, man, this looks pretty sweet.
I wish I could play it. Yeah, but it's funny because I always thought like Let's Plays were kind of goofy.
But as
I get older, I'm like, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
Like, I'll live vicariously through these guys. I will be picking up Mortal Kombat though.
They had some stuff at Gamescom, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm
a big Mortal Kombat fan.
Yeah.
They're bringing everybody back. All the characters alike, I think are.
What's the big thing? This is Mortal Kombat. What is this called?
Mortal Kombat 1.
Okay.
So
what's the story behind this?
At the end of Mortal Kombat 11, the main villain of Mortal Kombat 11 is Kronika.
Okay.
Who is the goddess? Like she's like the elder god, not the elder god, but like she's called a Titan, which is above the elder gods, and she controls time itself. And so she's defeated, and Liu Kang at the end becomes Fire God Liu Kang. Like he's like an elder god now, and he can recreate the timeline as he sees fit to like make things work out for the better and like change everything. This is Liu Kang's reboot. He's rewritten the timeline.
So this is a reboot of the Mortal Kombat universe?
Yes, from scratch. But people have different backstories now.
Okay.
Like, you remember the original like Scorpion and Sub-Zero story, right?
Yeah.
Everybody does. Like Sub-Zero killed Scorpion's family. Scorpion's pissed. He dies also, and he comes back as like a ninja demon who wants to kill Sub-Zero. Like it's like a grudge match. They're brothers in this timeline.
Okay.
There's none of that. Like they're brothers, which is so bizarre to me. It's so sweet. I'm excited to see it. Or like Reptile. He was always like a gross monster guy in a ninja costume. We could turn it like he was like.
Well, and in the original movie, he was like a reptile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this one, he is part of like the Saurian race, like the reptilian race. but he can also transform himself into a human form, and he was outcast by his race for being able to do it. But he's also like super cool and like can like everybody calls him a twink online. They say he's a twink. Okay. I guess. In his human form, I assume.
Reptile?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently he's take a look at him. But he can turn into like a reptilian beast at will. There's some cool stuff. Baraka, remember Baraka?
Yeah.
All right. Just kind of a weird monster guy, right? In the original games?
Yeah.
In this one, he was a normal outworld guy, but he was infected by the Tarkat disease. Okay. So he's like a victim of what's happening to him. Like it's like a plague that's like changing him. And so he's like him and his people that are infected by the disease have been like banished from outworld because they don't want it to spread the disease, but he's like fighting for the rights of the people that are infected by the Tarkat. It's pretty sweet. Like the whole thing's actually kind of sophisticated for a Mortal Kombat game. But they also pull guts out and stuff. So pretty cool. And Homelander's going to be in it.
I saw that.
And Omni-Man from Invincible. Yeah. And John Cena.
John Cena?
Peacemaker.
Okay.
But it's John Cena, like it's his face.
Yeah, because these are all that's Warner Bros.
The theme of this one, they always do DLC character, like guest characters from different properties. The theme of Mortal Kombat 10 was horror, so it was like Alien, Predator, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or Leatherface, like Jason. The theme of 11 was action characters. So it was RoboCop, Terminator, Rambo. There were a bevy of this one they said is like comic book characters. So like anti-hero type characters or even villains, I guess. Like violent comic book characters. So I'm curious to see who else they throw in there because there's going to be more, but yeah.
Okay.
I can't wait to like play as Peacemaker in Mortal Kombat. Fun.
So check out for more game talk, check out the Midwest Game Nerds.
We are not the game nerds.
No, but that was a good. You got me excited for that game. I'll never play.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's coming out on Switch. You might be able to.
I know. Believe me, I know I'll be able to, but I just don't know if I'll be able to. So, we're gonna hop in the time machine here.
We have to. Yeah, it's not too far back, really.
Not too far back. So you got a time machine noise for 2019. So I'm not going to sit here and go through like the top songs of 2019. We can't get nostalgic about something that happened like 4 years ago. What I did, though, real quick for a fun little time machine is I checked out what we were doing on the podcast 4 years ago. And we were talking about... this was been in October when Haunt came out originally. Here are the two movies we talked about. Ghosts of Mars... and House on Haunted Hill, the Dark Castle remake with Chris Kattan.
That's right.
Yes.
What a classic. And Jeffrey Rush.
On the Ghosts of Mars, we were very motivated. We talk about on the House on Haunted Hill, we're talking about The Exorcist 2, Lords of Salem, The Exorcist 3, Creep, Vampires, Haunters, Prophecy, Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich, Body Bags, Critters, A New Binge, Halloween 3. Like, we talk about all sorts of stuff. Like, we must have been watching a lot of stuff.
We ran the gamut on that one.
That would have been, when we went to the, that was like, when we went, would have been early on. You were doing your 31 Days of Horror, though, I think, at the time.
2019 was a simpler time.
Yeah, that would have been,
God, what a weird...
That would have been when we started going to one movie, and I think that would have... We would have been about like our personal lives. We would have been about the same spot I am now, I think. Right?
I was in the spot you are now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because how old is your little one now?
He is 5 months. So
So
well, you know what? Yes, we would have because they're the same birthday.
Yes. Oh but Joe was a 2018 baby.
Oh,
so
I'm getting.
She was a little older than, but still, I mean,
you're right. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. We're still in similar spots.
You're right. I was thinking that. So anyway, that's what we were.
They have the same birthday. What are we gonna do? We got to figure this out. Birthday party wise, we're gonna have to coordinate here.
So I think like it's only gonna be it's never going to be an issue, but like...
Well, no, I'm just saying we have the same friends, so like...
As far as coordination goes, it's really going to be... Because I was thinking about this. It's going to be the first couple of years it's tricky, but then like yours is going to be kind of old enough to where like she's going to want to do stuff with like friends.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be birthday parties with friends.
Oh
at
yeah,
some
it won't
point.
be. Yeah.
So
Yeah. We'll just we'll figure it out. Let's not do it on the air, but. That's crazy that their birthday's the same, though. We haven't acknowledged this.
In
you and
2019, yeah, we were not discussing.
There are 365 days in the year, and our kids have the same birthday.
Yeah,
that's weird.
It is.
It is weird.
It is weird. Yeah.
Like, can we acknowledge that real quick? Okay, we're good. Let's move on. It's weird. It's very weird.
No, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't hit me. Like,
how does that happen?
It never hits me. How?
No,
like,
it's hitting me now.
Like simpatico we are. Like.
How does that happen?
We joke about like how similar we are in taste in movies and like how we just agree on everything.
Our kid has the same birthday. I guess like I knew this. This is not new information, but it also like it's just whatever.
No, it's just one of those things.
It's strange.
Well, the other thing too is like it's very early on in my kid's life, so like it hit like it was one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, like.
Well, you're busy with.
Like when he was born, he's like, "Oh, it's the same birthday." That's kind of like that's cool. We'll have to talk about. And then like at some point, I'm just like, "Oh, yeah,
that's
you're
right." Yeah, yeah.
We're talking about Haunted, though, a movie we did not cover when it came out. Written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, the gentleman behind the writing team behind A Quiet Place 1 and 2.
That's right,
I believe. Starring Katie Stevens, Will Britton, Lauren, Elisa McLean. I believe is her name. Let's quick review of this. We've both seen it before.
Yes, I saw it on Shudder.
Yes, this was a Shudder premiere, biggest premiere in Shudder history at the time.
Deservedly for me, I think. So this is when I had my Shudder account and I was like running through new stuff. And I'm going to get Shudder again here at some point because I'm going to need suggestions from you though.
Okay.
Because there's been a lot that's happened in the last 4 years on Shudder, I'm sure, like in terms of like new content.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna need a little bit of pointers. Like,
I
didn't need that when I first got Shudder because it was all like, but there's a lot of extra stuff now. So, but one of my two favorite horror movies of the last like, two of my favorite horror movies of the last like decade came from this Shudder subscription that I had at the time. It was Haunt and oh God, what is the name of the other one? The one with the girls with the slashers on the island. And it's almost like a battle royale type thing where like the last girl remaining, final girl remaining, like, but the slasher protects the girl.
Okay.
I'll figure it out. But
okay.
But I loved Haunt when it came out on Shudder. That was
okay.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, man, now I'm blanking on what that is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. This came out at a time when like there was kind of like a glut of these like haunted house like horror movies. Like what if haunted house like we're really trying to kill you? I think the Rob Zombie movie came out around this time. Hellfest came out around this time. I would even throw in something like Hell House. I think that was a little before, but there were quite a bit of houses that October built. I think is a similar. This might be my favorite of those, and I think it still might be even after a second watch. This is a good like meat and potatoes horror movie, and I think it's a perfect. I haven't been in the Halloween spirit. Like I know something like we were talking in our Tiny Terror about how people get in the Halloween spirit even earlier and earlier these days, and it takes me a little longer. But like this movie, and like we had a couple days here where we live where it was like 60s, and I could feel like the fall coming on, and like then I watched this movie, I'm like, okay, now I'm ready. I'm ready for Halloween. So this is I think a good Halloween watch.
I agree.
What did you think of this time around?
I loved it. So I really was into this. The Furies is the movie, by the way.
Okay, yeah. That is good. I haven't seen that since it came out. Yeah.
Big fan of that one. But yeah, so with Haunt, I loved it the first time I saw it. I was I felt really refreshed by it because it did feel like just a very, in a good way, simple, classic horror movie with some nice slasher elements, some cool character designs. It just felt clean and like well directed, and it just felt fresh. It wasn't trying to do anything gimmicky. It was just trying to be a really solid horror movie. And I still feel that way now. So it's not doing anything elevated. It's not doing anything trying to go above and beyond being a fun 90-minute, It's actually a lot like going through a haunt. It's
Right.
just a fun, sometimes kind of gnarly but fun ride that it starts off pretty quick and it's brisk and you're in and out. It does do some character development with the lead, and it does some trauma stuff there with the lead, and I'm cool with that, and I think it works for the most part. But it doesn't. That's not a main. The movie still remembers that it has to first and foremost be a fun, scary romp before it's anything else, and I appreciate that for it. From it. Yeah, I dug it this time. I watched it with Nikki, who had not seen it in a long time, and my dad, who had never seen it. The reason why
did your dad watch it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I picked this one because when we went to the one of the horror stores, they had haunt action figures.
Okay.
I was like, oh my god, I didn't know these existed. I kind of wanted to get some. I might still, but they had like the figures of all the masked killers in the movie, and I was like, man, I should rewatch that. That'd be fun. And then you and I recorded like the next day, and yeah, it was still in my head for some reason. So yeah, it's a ton of fun. I still think it holds up, and I think it's if you haven't seen it, it's totally worth a watch. No question. It's on Hulu right now.
Yes.
So definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's weird. It premiered on Shudder, and then it kind of shuffled off of Shudder. It's been on Hulu for a while now, so it seems like it's kind of, I don't know if
it's like settled in there somehow.
Who knows with like studio rights and all that. But
my cat is staring at you right now.
Look at him.
Why is he doing that?
What is
he's looking at you, right?
Yeah, like
he was like for like a long time.
Yeah,
he was like
it was when I returned the eye contact, he looked away.
He was terrified of you. Anyway,
let's get into this plot real quick.
Yes.
On Halloween night in Carbondale, Illinois, roommates Harper and Bailey attend a party together where they meet their friends Angela and Mallory. The group befriends two guys, Nathan and Evan, at a local bar. Throughout the night, is it a local? That's like a nightclub, right? It's not like a local. When I think of a local bar, I think of like the dive bar down the street.
I don't know what local bars look like in 2019 because I don't go to the bar anymore. So maybe
I can't remember the last time I've been in like a bar.
Right. So maybe.
Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't judge.
This looked like a college club to me. This looked like the old Wayside down at Mount Pleasant.
Nice. It did look more like a nightclub to me, but I guess, yeah.
Throughout the night, Harper suspects she is being stalked by a man in a devil mask. The group enters a haunted house attraction. Before they enter, they are forced to surrender their cell phones and sign liability waivers.
Always a good sign.
Now, okay, so this is like a criticism I'm starting to throw it out because like they find like the invite to the haunted house, and it's in like in the middle of nowhere. People are like, why are you going there? But like some of these haunted houses, these haunted places, they're in the middle of nowhere.
Most haunts in Michigan are in like BFE, middle of a cornfield.
Yeah. Well, and then like Erebus, the big one.
That one's different.
Yeah, but that's in Pontiac, which is scarier than anything you're going to see inside
in a cornfield. Yeah,
yes.
But by and large, they are like they're not in major metro areas. Like at least not here. I can't speak for, but I would imagine. I mean, this takes place in Illinois. It's the Midwest. Like it's probably similar. Like there's probably a couple haunts in Chicago, I would guess.
Yeah.
But like most of them are probably on the outskirts.
Right.
So yeah, no, this feels legit to me. I've driven to like places like this that felt not maybe this shady, but I've driven to places like this that felt like they were very much off the beaten path. Yeah. You're on like a dirt road half the time.
Yeah, I'm from northern Michigan. If
there are probably a handful up there.
Haunted houses, they're not metropolitan areas.
Major sophisticated, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if you're a college student, you're a little drunk, you're a little tipsy, and you get it's Halloween season, I can see.
And there's certainly
characters have to make dumb decisions because people make dumb decies.
But I don't think it's like, is it a dumb decision?
No,
yes,
right.
But is it also a realistic decision for this situation? Yes. They're like, and there's a power in numbers thing too with that. Like when you're around that age, like when you're rolling deep with your crew, in your 20s or you're like you got a couple, 5 or 6 people, you feel like you're like we're good, we're covered, we'll be all right. we can tackle whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever comes our way.
Exactly.
Come what may. The group becomes separated after entering a maze. Bailey, Nathan, and Angela encounter a series of armholes. Oh, this is the thing, yeah.
Yes.
As Bailey sticks her arm inside, it is slashed with a straight razor. She also accidentally loses Harper's mom's ring, which she was wearing. Harper and Evan lose Mallory. They meet back up with the others and witness a performer in a witch mask impale Mallory through the head with a hot fire poker. That's a good kill. Good for
There's
kill.
a lot of head violence in this.
There is. That's not my favorite one, but let's real quick take a pause. We're done with that first paragraph, Wikipedia paragraph.
Yeah.
What do you think of the characters?
They're all they're all likable, I think. I mean,
yeah.
There's not a single character in the movie where I'm like, oh, this person's kind of sucks. And that's, I think, hard to pull off when you're dealing with like early 20s or teen.
The one guy's Evan. They introduced as kind of an asshole early on.
The heavyset guy.
Yeah, but even then,
but he's still, you don't want him to get killed,
right?
And he seems like he's defensive enough. He defends his friends enough to where you're like, he's a good guy, even if he's kind of a trash talker and a little bit obnoxious. Like, at his heart, he's probably a good dude.
You warm to him towards the end.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, exactly. So, like, you don't learn a ton about them beyond our lead here, but you do, beyond Harper. But you see enough of their interactions and their characters to where you're like, you empathize with them enough to like.
Where do you
not want to see them get killed?
Where do you fall? Because there is, I've seen arguments before. Like, where do you fall on? Do you need to like the victims in a slasher movie? Is it for me? It's not necessary. I don't. Sometimes, like, if I like them too much, it's almost like the Scream 6 conundrum, where, like, spoiler alert, like, no one dies. None of the core 4 dies. But like, I don't necessarily want to see them die because I do like those characters. So there is kind of that conundrum where like, then there are slasher movies where like, get rid of that person.
It is very much a tightrope walk, and if you want to see kind of how to thread that a little bit, you watch the Friday the 13th movies. So as those movies go on, the characters become more paper thin, and for the most part, less likable, or less relatable, and that's why Jason becomes almost the hero. In a lot of ways, like, people start rooting for Jason to like off the characters because the characters are so paper thin and kind of obnoxious that you almost are ready for it to happen or want it to happen. And then, but the earlier movies, they try to do a decent job. Even like the first Friday the 13th movie, they try to do a decent job of like making you like the characters or find the characters endearing in some way before they off them. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Because the Scream movies are trying to, yes, be slasher whodunit, fun slasher whodunit movies, but they're also, the Scream movies have a different tone than a Friday the 13th or even like certainly the later Halloweens, where they do want you to care about the characters as they're getting killed. Like, even like you establish a level of sympathy for Casey Becker in that opening Scream scene, right? Because you spend time with her, you don't get to know anything about her really, but like the performance and the presentation of what she's going through, you feel for her, so you don't want to see her die. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish, I think, as a storyteller. Like, that's the beauty of slasher movies, is like, a lot of people think slasher movie and they think it has to be one specific thing. And you can do different things in a slasher movie. You don't have to. So, like, for this one, I think that they strike a decent balance between, like, making me, like, wince when people get killed off because, like, I'm not actively cheering them on being killed. And not, like, being, like, brokenhearted if they... Does that make sense? Like, there's a nice...
I'm kind of with you. I don't like them too much. It's almost like how much I know, it's almost how much I know about them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to know too much about them. Yeah. I know the perfect amount in the first, like, 10 or 15 minutes.
To where, like, there's stakes, but you're not, like crying if they die.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Now, believing they are in danger, the group sends Nathan to find an exit. He encounters a man in a ghost mask, Mitch, who agrees to help. Devil Mask kills Angela. I'm taking this from Wikipedia. They are It's almost like AI
It's
wrote
brisk.
this. It's very the sentences are very short, very Hemingway-esque.
Angela gets a pitchfork to the head. Another
Yes.
head violence.
Yes.
Yep.
Still not my favorite head violence in this movie.
No, good though. Good
Yeah.
though. I think the eye gets a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gross.
Bailey flees into the tunnels and accidentally activates the trap door, dropping Nathan into the house's operation room. He saves Harper from the devil mask before finding the group's phones. Evan and Mitch make it outside, but Mitch kills him with a hammer before ripping off his face. That's my favorite head violence. And what's funny is, like, it's not the hammer, or like it's not the it's the ripping of the face with the claw of the hammer.
The peeling of the top lip over the
Yeah.
it's pretty great. Mitch is my favorite of the killers. I'm just gonna say that right now. Like,
I was just about to ask you. Mitch is
He's
the
Ghost.
He's okay. So mine is Devil.
Devil's good.
Because I like when he takes his mask off.
It's
and he's got like
sweet.
the modified.
That's the first one you see unmasked, right? Yeah.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
think it's the coolest one to see unmasked. Ghost is actually my least favorite unmasked.
I like it
Yeah, do you?
because he's not finished yet. Like he's not done with his work. Like
his body modification.
yeah. So we should say like this killer group is obviously like they're obsessed with like they are trying to turn their faces into the masks that they're wearing, like
Right.
through like tattoos and piercings and like legitimate like mutilation of their own bodies. Yeah, I like all that. I like Mitch because he sounds like a regular guy when he's talking to him, and then there's that moment, and it's my favorite moment in the whole movie where like they get outside, him and the guy get outside, and Evan makes it outside, and Mitch goes, "Do you still want to see my face?"
Yeah.
And you go, "Oh no, like this isn't gonna end well." It's so sweet. Yeah.
The clown. They talk about.
He's cool.
Yeah, he bases his performance on Philip Seymour Hoffman in Mission Impossible 3 is like an inspiration for his performance.
I see it.
And you can kind of see he does a very good job of like delivering his with like a cold calmness a lot of the time.
Yeah, Hoffman's great in that movie.
Yes, yeah. Well, but I almost threw out a hot take, but I don't think we're ready for it here.
Oh no,
I like the Mission Impossible movies better when it was a different director every movie.
I've not seen the last. How many are there now?
I think 7.
Hold on.
They've all been Christopher
1,
McQuarrie
2,
movies.
3.
4 was the
is-
Brad Bird one, and then it got into the last 2 have been Christopher McQuarrie.
What's 5? Which one has Sawyer from Lost? In the beginning.
Is that not 3? Because that's the JJ one.
I'll figure it out. That's not.
I knew I did want to get.
Yeah. Sorry.
I like the masks in this movie.
Yes, they're great. Yep. They feel sophisticated but also homemade at the same time, which I like.
Yeah, and that's the movie in a nutshell in a lot of ways.
Yes,
yeah.
it is totally.
Because I think that's the strength of the movie is the look and the production design.
Yep.
The production designer had done La La Land and Her, the Spike Jonze movie.
Really?
They wanted someone different.
Wow.
And then they asked him, and he's like, "Yeah, I love haunted houses," and he had already.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's why the haunted houses sets look great, and you can tell a lot of them are unfinished in the background. And yeah, really
That's
cool.
very cool.
Nathan manages to give the location of the house to Harper's abusive boyfriend, Sam, before making it out of the house. Harper enters an escape room very similar to her childhood bedroom where she witnessed her father abuse her mother. Devil Mask attacks her and she kills him. She then encounters another performer in a skull mask and kills them too, but is horrified to find that the person in the costume was Bailey, who was previously captured by other performers. Sam arrives at the house where he's promptly killed by the attraction's ringleader, a man in the clown mask. Okay, so Sam, I like the straightforward slasher elements of this movie. I think where I differ from you a little bit is that the abuse stuff doesn't work as well for me. It feels, I don't know, it just doesn't work.
Sure.
Completely.
Sure.
I just kind of like the straightforward stuff. Sam is hilarious though, because Sam is the abusive boyfriend who like they want you like
It's so mean.
they want you to think he's gonna save the day, and then they pull like the meanest shit ever.
It's
when
so
he gets
sweet.
there, like he's
Yeah.
dispatched within moments.
But he's kind of an asshole anyway, so you're like, yeah, all right, whatever.
Nathan goes back inside to save the others, but is attacked by Mitch, while Harper is attacked by a man in a zombie mask. She defeats her attacker before helping Nathan kill Mitch. They encounter a man in a vampire mask who explains that the performers are part of a cult that makes extreme modifications to their faces to look like real monsters, and like to rip the faces off their victims. That's kind of a cool little motive, right?
How nice.
That was the other thing I wanted to ask you. We don't know a lot about the motives, the backstory of the killers. Now, do you prefer? Where do you fall on that? Do you prefer knowing why these people do these things, or are you like a fan of like no motive? You think like the old Halloween Michael Myers, he's just killing to kill.
Once again, it depends on the situation, but generally, I like what they do here, where you get just enough information about the killer or killers to where you go, okay, but they don't give you the full, like, you're able to try and connect dots. Right. So you know that they're doing body modifications. You don't know why. And you know that they like to rip faces off, but you don't know how that ties in. Like, I like that. That's it. That's all I need. Because I can start going, oh, okay, like, there's a hint about them meeting online. Like, that's enough for me. Like,
right.
I don't like nothing, like zero, most of the time. It works in Halloween, but I don't like zero motive. Like, I like something a little bit. If they're killable killers, I want
kind of the John Carpenter versus Rob Zombie argument. But yeah,
sure, yeah. But God, those two Michael Myers are so different too that it's almost like it's like apples and oranges with even the same character. If they're killable killers, if they're killers that are human, I need something. If they're unstoppable monsters, we're good. It's fine. Just they're a scary monster guy.
Yeah. And Michael kind of falls under the Michael Myers in the first movie kind of falls under like the unstoppable phantom monster.
Exactly.
And
he's
then,
not like a beast, but he's
in the zombie movie because they humanize him like they
I want some of that. Does it get to be too much for me? Yes. Yeah. But that's fine.
I think this movie finds a good balance there.
I agree.
He, I believe Mitch, is shot to death by Zombie Mask. Harper and Nathan escape the house, killing Witch Mask in the process. I like how the Wikipedia refers to them as like Zombie Mask is like their full name. Zombie Mask attacks them, but Nathan kills him before the two escape in Sam's truck. Clown Mask proceeds. They're a family. They're the Mask family.
Yes.
Proceeds to burn
Jim
down
Carrey's their dad.
Burn down the attraction. Harper and my name is a Cuban beat, and that's my
That's a good scene.
Cameron Diaz in the mask. Look out.
Chicky boom. Sorry.
Look out. I turn into the mask. Like when I remember his jaw drops.
Indeed. Ooh.
God. Ooh, God. Harper and Nathan reach a hospital where the nurse asks Harper to write down her address on a release form similar to the one they were asked to sign before entering the house. Let's just knock out the ending here, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the movie. Sometime later, Clown Mask arrives at Harper's house with the intent of killing her, but becomes stuck in a trap by Harper, who emerges with a shotgun and kills him. That's the end of the movie. We blew through that plot description faster than I expected. It's not a plot-heavy movie. Now,
it's not. No,
I've seen some talk about the ending of this movie, so we can talk about that here. Where do you stand on it? Because the final girl gets her. What do you think of her as a final girl?
She's good.
Yeah, I think so. She's good too.
The performance is strong. I like a little bit of the backstory of her, like having had an abusive parent, and it worked. Honestly, I like the revenge thing. I like when the hero gets the comeuppance at the end sometimes.
Yeah. It's clever that she learns from her experience.
Yes, and it's similar.
And she uses some of the same moves. She uses the old glue on the shoe.
I like that. It's similar to the ending of The Collection, actually.
Yeah.
Oddly enough. And I like both the endings, so I'm cool with it. Like, I don't ever need a sequel to this movie.
Would you like a sequel to this movie?
No, I don't. No, I'm good.
Good one's good.
Yeah, because what do you do?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no sequel.
Like another haunted house.
There's nothing to. Yeah, but like, there's no ties.
And I think the issue with that is like there were so many haunted house movies.
Do we need another one?
No, we don't. Just go watch one of the other ones.
Exactly, and like a prequel would. What's the point of that?
Right. That does what we don't want it to do, which is over-explain everything.
Exactly. So I'm good. Leave it alone.
You have a favorite kill in this movie?
Oh, the hammer peel.
You're a hammer peel guy?
Yeah. It's great.
Did you like when she kills the witch? She keeps slamming her face.
Oh, it's great too. Yeah. There's some really... all the violence is to the head in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like Olympus Has Fallen. So many like head blows. Like
I saw a countdown of the knifiest movies.
Olympus is up there, right?
Olympus is up there, so is John Wick.
That's a knifey movie. Yeah.
And so was, I think, Scream 6 made. I think it was a Scream.
That's a knifey movie, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the ending works for me. I'm cool with it. I see why people are like, I didn't need it feels a little tacked on, maybe. Like, it's not necessary. The clown kind of just getting away would have been cool, too, but I like the closure of it.
Couple of little fun tidbits here, and then
Yes.
you and I are going to talk some haunted houses for
Yes.
a couple minutes. This was Beck and Woods. They have become kind of like a force in the genre. They got their start. They won a competition, the ESPN, or not the ESPN, excuse me, the MTVU.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, like it was like MTVU Best Film on Campus. It was the second annual. The judges were Catherine Hardwicke, who did 13 and one of the Twilight movies.
Nice.
Nicole Castle, who I'm not familiar with, and then John Singleton was a judge. Boys in the
John.
Hood. Yes.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
You got a favorite John Singleton
Right?
movie?
Or,
He was
yeah.
too fast. He was too fast.
Yeah.
Is that your favorite John Singleton movie?
Ooh, I don't know.
Baby Boy, Poetic Justice, Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood. So I watched actually Boys in the Hood recently. Boys in the Hood.
I'm not as big on Boys in the Hood.
It
Boys
does
in the
not
Hood.
age well.
No.
I think that's one of those movies you have to kind of remember where it was in the time, too.
Yes, it's a time capsule movie. Like, so Boys and Menace came out not too far apart.
Yeah.
Menace is my preferred movie.
Okay.
I think it still feels like, to me, it feels like real, like or closer to.
Yeah.
Boys feels a little
Dated. And
I think it's important.
But the thing with Boys, too, is it gets skewered at Don't Be a Menace to South Central. It's like
A couple different times.
Don't Be a
yeah.
Menace is like so much better anyway.
Yeah.
Don't Be a Menace to South Central is like the best
Yeah.
movie.
It's true.
I think that's my favorite Wayans Brothers movie.
It's great. It's great. White Chicks is pretty good too.
Oh, you know what? White Chicks is pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway.
I like his Shaft remake.
Yeah.
And I like Baby Boy. I'm a Baby Boy guy.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. Anyway, so they won this. They both won this. They went to Iowa, University of Iowa. A couple Hawkeyes, a couple Big Ten boys.
Nice.
So yeah, they won that, and then 14 years later, this was produced by Eli Roth as well.
Okay. There's some elements maybe I could see that he would be
Yeah, they talk about how
interested in.
he helped them kind of clean up the beginning of the script.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it too. The thing with Eli Roth is, I think we've talked about this too, is I like Eli Roth better as like a horror fan than I do like a director. Like I like his taste and stuff more than I like.
I think he's good at like scouting stuff like this.
I think he's a good producer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is weird because usually I feel the opposite
Yeah.
about people.
And then the last thing is, this is early-ish in the. This is the biggest premiere on Shudder at the time. It's different. It's a little different than what Shudder normally. Shudder likes to go with a lot of like foreign movies and a lot of like smaller independent movies. This is a very mainstream horror movie,
Which was different for them. Yeah.
It's a little bit different for them. I like when they do this. I kind of wish they did a little more of it. I understand why they don't. And I like that they don't too. I like that they introduce horror fans to different.
There's nothing wrong with like mixing it up though and doing stuff like this.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
So yeah, this is a big deal. I think Shudder, when we look back in 10 years at like streaming services and just horror in general, I think Shudder is going to play a bigger part than maybe gets credit for right now.
Sure.
Like I think it's helped do what video stores used to do, which is introduce people to a lot of different like foreign movies. And I think it's an important part of being a horror. I mean, an important aspect of like late 2010s, 2020s horror. So that's it. Any final thoughts on the movie itself?
I think it's great. I think it's a ton of fun. Definitely worth a watch. Holds up still. I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to feel about it because I really liked it the first time. But yeah, no, it's if you haven't seen Haunt, and I think a lot of people probably still haven't seen Haunt, it's awesome. Yeah. Yeah,
very fun movie on Hulu now. I recommend it too. And if you are someone who's ready for the Halloween, getting in the Halloween spirit, this got me in the Halloween
Perfect
spirit.
for it. Yep.
We're going to talk haunted houses. I've got an article real quick. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We're going to talk about a brief history of the haunted houses. This is from the Smithsonian, and this is also, a lot of it's taken from an article by Rebecca McKendry, who wrote in Fangoria. She wrote a little bit, so she goes deeper back into the history of haunted houses than maybe I would have. She talks a little bit about the ancients. She talks about the Egyptians. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the article here. She says, the Egyptians knew well that if you wanted to keep body snatchers away from a pyramid, the best way was to scare the hell out of them. Mazes, moving walls, self-opening doors, traps, and the use of snakes and insects were commonplace in persevering treasures and dead royalty. So what she's doing there, she is kind of relating current day haunted houses and trying to trace it back to where they started. She also talks about the Greeks and the Romans. She goes a little bit into the Dark Ages. I think where the best place to start as far as haunted houses go is probably in the I would say probably in the 1910s. There's a haunted house, and I'm trying to find the exact name in let's see here. It was in the UK. Trying to find. Let's see. Oh my gosh. All right, so there was a haunted. The first recorded haunted attraction was in 1915. It was the Orton and Spooner Ghost House, and this was in. It opened in 1915 in the United Kingdom as part of the Edwardian Fair, and this was when the Grand Guignol in France was scaring audiences. But I got a picture of it on my phone to show you.
Here we go.
It's just like it's like a baby haunted house. Like they still have they still have it up over in the UK. It's just like
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a thing. Now this is what I want to talk about because where it kind of blew up in America, the haunted house was in the 1930s during the Depression, and this is kind of when horror started to get big too. Was in the early 1930s with stuff like the Universal Monsters, Dracula. But I'm going to read this. This is from the Smithsonian. The first haunted houses were very primitive. Groups of families would decorate their basements and hold house-to-house parties. Kids could spook themselves by traveling from basement to basement and experiencing different scary scenes. This 1937 pamphlet describes how parents could also design trails of terror to spook their children. The effects may seem familiar to anyone who has ever been disappointed by a substar scare. But anyway, here's a reading from the pamphlet because I have to read this off.
Yes.
An outside entrance leads to a rendezvous with ghosts and witches in the cellar or attic. Hang old fur, strips of raw liver on walls where one feels his way to dark steps. Weird moans and howls come from dark corners. Damp sponges and hairnets hang from the ceilings.
Ooh.
Touch his face. Doorways are blockaded and guests must crawl through a dark tunnel. So, yeah, you just hang some raw liver.
So spooky. I love it.
The haunted house.
I love stuff like old school,
old, like 1930 stuff.
It's so sweet.
And the other thing too is like nowadays we would not send. I don't think you'd just start sending your kid around the neighborhood to basements.
No, yeah. Oh my God.
Especially if someone had just raw liver hanging around.
Right. Yeah. That seems like a warning sign.
The haunted house though didn't become a cultural icon until Walt Disney. He decided to build one. So the Haunted Mansion is kind of pointed to as the ride is kind of pointed to as kind of like one of the original like icons.
That's so crazy, isn't it?
So
that Walt was like
he wanted to do a haunted house, but he didn't want to do a decrepit like old mansion. So the Haunted Mansion is actually based on the Winchester House. Are you familiar with the Winchester Mansion?
Yes.
The old Winchester Mansion, which is designed like the legend behind it is the woman was told like if she stopped building, she would die. So like the mansion makes no sense. It goes.
There were like
over.
rooms that led to like rooms that had no purpose or function, hidden doorways, all sorts of crazy stuff.
It's out in San Jose. It's kind of one of my favorite like haunted quote.
Do they do tours?
Yes.
Sweet.
Grim Life Collective posted.
I'll have to watch that. Yes.
They posted a video of it. I watched it the other day too because I was reading a little bit about it. But he didn't want to do it. So he designed it on that. So it's like it's based on that. And the fun thing about the Haunted Mansion too is like it's in a warehouse. Like it's not actually in the mansion. It's in a warehouse behind the mansion. They hide it behind the mansion. You can't see it. And it just kind of takes you around inside of in the mansion. But the way it tricks you is thinking it's in there. Haunted mansions would grow. There's some crazy stuff with Jerry Falwell. Like there's some evangelical like haunted like some of it's funny and some of it's not. But like you walk through, they're like hyper religious. This guy. A little bit bigger in like the 80s and 90s. You walk through and like there are scenes of like abortions.
Yeah, right. I've heard of this.
Or there are like scenes of like drugs.
Yeah,
being used.
like it's more of like a scare you out of
scared straight type situation.
For sure.
There was the JCs who were a junior like a junior group who would do haunted houses.
Those became huge.
Yeah.
They still do them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Knott's Berry Farm started. They were like in the first theme park that started doing.
Yeah.
And then places like I'm going to Universal. I'm going to Halloween Horror Nights again. I'm excited for that. I've been to Cedar Point. They do their own thing. We have one here, Erebus, that is specifically haunted house. One of the bigger ones in the nation, right?
Yes, and then there's home haunts too. Like those have become big too. So like as the bigger haunts, like things like Halloween Horror Nights and like mid-level ones like Slaughtered at Sundown is one of the bigger ones in Michigan.
Yeah.
Or Erebus. Like you see these home haunters that are starting to do their own things too. So like they're starting to go from beyond like just throwing a handful of like I do, a handful of like fake tombstones in their front yard, or maybe like a skeleton dangling, and now they're doing like full on like they're turning their driveways and garages and backyards into like walk through haunts, which is kind of amazing to me. Like the commitment that takes. I would love to do that one day. I just don't have the time or the energy to do that.
Right.
It'd be awesome, but yeah. One day when you and I, when our kids are grown up a little bit, I feel like when you and I are retirees,
yeah,
we're going to do it. Yeah.
Well, we're going to, once we start making millions off of this podcast, you and I are going to retire, and we're going to become ghost hunters.
Yes.
And we're going to go to places like the Winchester Mansion.
Yes.
And we're going to investigate it.
Yeah. Once I'm a major commentator on WWE, yes. Once I work for Vince.
I told you about the time I saw the Ghost Hunters guys, Dave Tango and Steve Gonsalves, at Disney World, and I was gonna ask them, like, you going to the Haunted Mansion? You gonna investigate that mansion? I saw them in Disney World.
Scope it out, bruh.
Yeah, the haunted houses got bigger in the 80s, 90s with slashers and stuff. But it's big business now. Like,
it's a big deal. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, horror has become a bigger deal.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I've become kind of a late in life haunted house fan.
Okay.
I've actually enjoyed them more now for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think I appreciate a good scare now.
Did you go to some as a kid at some point?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Do you have any haunted house memories growing up or just in general?
Yeah. Yes, I do. So it's a two-parter. I'll try and keep it brief, but my parents, despite their best efforts to like really warn me ahead of time, like, just so you know, this is going to be scary. We'll be with you the whole time. There was a lot of like soft talk about like this could be scary. I went to it was a haunted hayride followed by a walk through like the woods, like haunted woods. So it was like a two thing. The hayride didn't freak me out at all because I could sit in the middle. Like if I sat in the center of the length of hayride, so like the big pallets, sat in the middle, and then also in the center of that middle, I could barely even see this stuff happening. So I was good to go. I mean, I could see it enough. I could hear people screaming, but I knew I was like covered in adults, so I was safe. Then we got off.
When you're a kid, yeah, that does help. Like,
it seems right. Yeah, if I'm surrounded by adults, they'll protect me. I'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah. Hey. Then we got off the hayride, and that's where things became problematic. So things would jump out. Guys would jump out at you in costumes, spooky music, and I was unnerved, but I wasn't scared. And then we got to a shack.
Okay.
And to proceed through the wooded trail, you had to go through the shack. And it was no bigger than, like, my shed in our backyards. It wasn't big. It was like a room. It was taller, but it was small. And I remember that, like the at like grocery stores and like the freezer areas, they had those like plastic like strips that hang from like.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. There was those on the outside of the door, and inside you could see a strobe light going off and a fog machine at the same time. Completely disorienting.
You and I have like okay. I have a similar story. Yeah.
And I could hear people screaming as they went through.
Yeah.
And I could hear a chainsaw revving.
Holy shit.
And I went, that's where I don't like this. Like, that's where I got nervous. I hadn't seen Texas Chainsaw, but that's where I was like, it's too loud, and I don't want to go in there. And my parents are like, we've got to go through.
Yeah.
Like, we have to walk through it. We're here with you, you'll be safe. So I got in there. And nothing happened for a minute. And then it revved up. And then he popped out, and it was strobing, and I could just see flashes of him. And he had the...
This is crazy. Okay.
Hold on. Let me finish. And then I want to hear this. I'm very excited to hear this. And as my parents tell it, I screamed at the top of my lungs, and I just ran out the exit out the path. I left them behind completely.
Yeah.
My dad said he's never seen a human being run faster. No professional athlete has run faster than I did that day. And they had to catch up to me like a quarter of a mile away on a picnic bench, just sitting there. And the lady saw how scared I was that was running the apple cider and donut thing at the end of the trail.
Yeah.
And she just gave me a donut and apple cider and was like, just hang out, sweetheart, and wait for your parents. Like, so anyway, that was, yeah. And then the next year they tried to take me back to it because I was like, I'm ready, guys. I'm going to do this one this year. We got to the parking lot. We drove like 45 minutes to an hour into the boonies to find this place.
Yeah.
We got in the parking lot. I was all amped and ready to go. And then I heard a chainsaw rev and I said, I'm not going in there. And they had to drive me all the way back. We couldn't even go in there because I heard a chainsaw. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry.
No, I'm
Please,
sorry. I
let
didn't
me
mean to
hear.
interrupt because my mind is blown because we had talked about how our children share birthdays, and now I'm going to share
God,
this story, this formative tale of being scared. So, in where I grew up, there was a place called Glenn's Market. It's called something different now, and it was a supermarket.
Supermarket, okay, yeah.
Spartan store. You know the Spartan stores?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not a scary place.
To begin with.
Yes. I come from an Alpine village. We're called the Alpine Village. They had a little glockenspiel. You know what a glockenspiel
Yes.
is? Little kids, these little Alpine kids come out. They've got their dirndls on. Yeah, and they go around in a clock.
Unnerving.
Like every hour, the clock rings, and these kids go around. They hit it out front.
I don't like it.
So you are already unnerved. I've been there many times. One of my favorite places to go as a kid because they had a comic book section that was
Sweet,
it was like in the magazines. It was over in the corner of the store. So my mom would go shopping for groceries, and I would just read the comics and magazines all the time. Yeah, it's where
was it a road like a spinny rack thing?
No, it was just like a rack. It was like down underneath, like kind of a rack
cool.
lower. And it was where I believe I bought X-Men number 19. I believe was the first comic I ever bought.
In the Jim Lee run?
Yeah, it was that. It was that run. And it was Psylocke gets out of the shower. And this one, and Cyclops is staring, and he goes,
Love it.
Oh boy. Yeah, Psylocke.
Oh, yeah.
Look out.
The hotness.
Oh, my goodness.
Indeed.
Psylocke makes me turn into the Mask.
Yes.
But anyway, so go there, and then they also had a little party store in the back with like a video store.
Yeah, okay.
Like back
very
when,
common of smaller, yeah.
You would rent. They have like 20 VHS movies you could rent because a lot of people who would go camping would go there and rent VHS. But anyway, it was Halloween, and they had a haunted house. They called it, or like a haunted attraction.
The supermarket.
No, in the back of the supermarket.
Oh,
in
no.
like the warehouse area
With like the butcher area, and
with
stuff
like the butcher and like where they keep like the stock room.
Wow.
And when you brought up the little plastic hanging thingies, it was the same. Like, so you walk through and it was dark. They had flashing lights.
Nope.
And it's cold. And then you brought up the hanging thingies, and I swear to God, the exact same thing happened.
Are you kidding
where
me?
someone with the chainsaw like ran out underneath the strobes
Strobes through those.
Stuck in my head. No, I did not run away. But what happened was like I was just like petrified. Like this is stuck
Frozen.
in my head. Like I think I tried to play it off. Like because I think it was with my mom and my brother at the time. I doubt my brother remembers this.
Oh my
but
God.
like I was so
That's
freaked
like the
out.
same thing.
When was your like? Do you think this was like a thing at the time? Like it was like they were passing notes.
I would have to ask my folks.
But I guess
I had to be like max 10 years old.
Yeah.
Let's say 96.
Okay. I would probably be a couple years before that. No, you know what?
12.
I probably would have been like
12.
Yeah. This probably would have been like 93, 94. But I can see like where like people would think like a meat locker for Texas Chainsaw.
I mean, it
Massacre.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. That's bizarre.
Yeah. This is a weird
The
episode.
dangling like plastic stuff.
This is a
is
weird
what
episode.
throws me. That really is like so specific.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the strobes behind it and going, I don't want to go through those things.
Yeah.
Because those things are already weird anyway.
Yeah. Especially as a kid. Yeah. Oh, we're getting a storm.
It looks bad outside.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. Do you have any more stories?
No,
to
that's
tell?
good. Well, perhaps there'll be more to share at some point in the future. We're getting a lot of rain, it looks like.
Yeah.
A lot of thunder and lightning. That window never normally gets wet, I don't think.
Yeah, let's wrap this bad boy up because
All right.
I got a newborn at home and a dog. And
They're probably both terrified right now. So
the movie I want to do next time.
yes, let's hear it.
I think I want to make sure this is going to be correct here. Tell us the good people where they could
Yes,
reach us.
horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com. We're on Twitter @HMYearbook. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook by searching for Horror Movie Yearbook. We're all over the place. And my lights are flickering right now. This does not bode well.
So, okay.
It's getting gnarly out there. It's starting to look like a real-life horror movie out there right now.
I'm just going to pick it. I know I'm hoping this. I'm not wrong, and it is a Halloween movie. I want to do Sleepy Hollow. It's available for rent. It is to me, it's a Halloween movie. It's available for rent.
Works for
it's
me.
available on Max. So let's do Sleepy Hollow next.
I love it.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Stay scared out there.